For more than 40 years, Sally Mann has made hauntingly beautiful, often elegiac pictures that deal with some of the most basic and profound themes in life: love, the bonds of family, death, memory, the inevitable way that nature asserts such a power over our lives. But what really binds all this work together is that it's all bred of a place, the American South.
When Sally Mann first began making pictures of her children, her 3 children, Emmett, Jesse, and Virginia, in the mid-1980s, not many serious photographers made their art based on their domestic life. She realized very quickly that there was great potential to explore very large and powerful themes of the family through these intimate pictures. By making these pictures, she explored broader themes of the bonds of family and love, the tenderness that exists between parents and children, but also some of the more difficult and unexpected themes of childhood, the anger and the shame, the conflicts that siblings have with each other. So many of the photographs, although they might appear to capture a brief moment in time, are in fact very carefully crafted. And they are at once descriptive documents of a moment, but they are also allegories. They are allegories about the passage of time or the fragility of childhood.
But in the early 1990s, she starts to turn her attention away from depicting her family and looking more specifically at the landscape itself. She begins to make photographs around the family farm, but then she also takes trips further down into what we call the Deep South in the United States.
It's very important that we note that Virginia was the site of more Civil War battlefields than any other state in the United States. But if you go to a Civil War battlefield now, you will experience a very serene, green, and calm place. So when Sally Mann began to photograph those battlefields, her goal was, in a way, to see whether she could evoke some sense of that traumatic past and really draw forth from the earth this sense of its history as embedded in the soil itself.
Sally Mann began a period of very intense self-reflection, self-examination, and as she started working on that, she began to think much more carefully, much more objectively about the legacy of slavery and racism in the South and the way it had impacted not only the land around her, which she saw every day, but also her own relationships with people, and especially her relationship with an African-American woman named Virginia Carter, whom she called Gigi. So she begins, I think, to think back about that, and she decides to reach out to African-American men and to begin to have a dialogue with them.
The exhibition both begins and ends with a focus on the family. In the early 2000s, when she returns to this subject, she approaches it very differently. At this point, her 3 children, Emmett, Jesse, and Virginia, are young adults. And what she's interested in photographing is not their individual personalities so much, but rather this sense of loss that's even inherent in a child growing up. I think that this room really, it is both about mortality, but it's also about love, and it's about what is the one thing that can transcend death, and that is the bonds of affection and sort of the memory and love. And the way that she uses photography to capture that, to encode that, is very powerful.